like to encourage now our audience, if you have any questions, if you want to raise anything, please raise your hand. Otherwise, let me start asking a question now to Janine, as you're the only panelist who is not at the moment actively in the energy sector. What are your thoughts now after listening to those different people? They're all in community energy, and you hear about the challenges and how they've succeeded. Would you have any advice for them, or what are your comments?
Well, as an electronic engineer, I wasn't an electrical engineer, electronics, so I was doing the micro rather than the macro electrical side. I would say that the elbow pushing and the hierarchy and the process where, you know, one person gets a microphone, which is, you know, very common in politics. It's also mimicked in the media industry. This process is really something which most people dislike of either gender, but some people are more successful at it than others. And your work is sowing the seeds properly and more thoroughly into our communities. And those seeds are of everybody being welcome, really. So I'm doing now the more social side, and you're doing the actual more technical. In IT, we talk about the user interface and the actual technical side. So you're actually sowing the seeds from a technical side, whereas I'm sowing the seeds from a social side. And both of them are working together. And I really appreciate the work you're doing, because you're showing that this individual involvement and bringing the people into the community and making them active this way is actually going to help democracy and is going to help action on the streets and give people strength in that way, as well as my work should help your work. So that's brilliant to hear.
Thanks so much for this comment. Does anyone else wish to say? Oh, there is Judith Streletsky. You would like to raise your hand, but you can't find the button. So Judith, if you just unmute yourself and please speak. Just briefly introduce yourself, please.
Yes, my name is Judith Soletsky, and I'm a Hungarian living in Denmark, and I'm an engineer, and I also have an MBA, like someone like Janine, and I experience many of the things what you mentioned here, and I have two daughters, so not like Stefan, who has two sons. And these questions what you raised, and it was incredibly interesting for me, and I having these questions for many years. Why women do not enter the space, as it was mentioned, and why is it that I, as an engineer, I also experience the same majority of men. I was one of the few, and so on. And why is it that even though they are women in a movement, they don't stand up? So this question about, for example, the Fridays of Future, it's full of women. Why are they the women? And why is it that even though in Denmark, when they want to present themselves, there comes a boy who presents them, not the girls, even though 80% of the people are women? And why are the women, and why is it that they're still, when you want to have respect or influence, you stand up with a man? I'm working with the International Network for Sustainable Energy. When we are working with the organizations from Africa, Asia, even though there are women at the organizations, when they want to present their work at the UN or different other places, and they only have money for one person. So the man is who is coming to the meeting, at the different forums. So I see two main reasons. One of them is the role model. So I became engineer because my mother was a technical drawer, and maybe the Fridays of Futures has the role model of Greta. Maybe that could be the reason. And then the other thing is that when women stand up, they need a coach. So why, for example, the anti-nuclear movement, there were a lot of women after Chernobyl, the Mama 86 in Ukraine and so on. So I think women and also all children wants to fit into the system. And then that is why they don't stand up. And then it could be that climate that this Fridays of Future movement managed that they understand the cause and then understand that they can fight. And but it's still not totally the reasons. So I would like that. It's a wonderful presentations you give until now, and I don't know if you can elaborate a little bit more on this. Also, Marika was mentioned the same problem that you would like maybe to more elaborate on this, that about the women standing up and taking the leading role model, the problems with that, and how can we change? Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Judith. Does anyone, or would you like anyone to directly respond to that? Or does anyone would like to respond directly?
I'm happy to respond. I mean, I think there are many reasons why women don't stand up. I think part of it, I mean, that's one reason why I don't go into politics, is it's dirty fighting. I mean, it's aggressive, and the concept of democracy and having rational conversations and finding a good solution for everybody seems to be not part of our current democratic space, which I find is really sad. That's my personal opinion. That's not the opinion of my organization. I think we need to instill proper democratic qualities in people, and the young people at school need to be trained in a different way. They need to be trained to be creative, to express themselves, to learn to speak in front of gatherings. None of that training is standard in many spaces. I also think we need to build on building respect for people. I think when I look at my own country, there is no respect. That is a space that has evaporated, shockingly so, that life has no meaning. And I think our political leaders need to start bringing in quotas. We need to bring quotas for women, because without the quotas, in my view, we're not going to get anywhere. And the women who say quotas are not needed are the women who are confident enough to think they're getting into that space. Those women should support the quota system, in my view. Again, you need the different perspectives of men and women in all conversations. If you can have true gender equity, 50-50 on panels, 50-50 in governments, you would have a completely different conversation. And quite an instructive space, and I think a collaborative space, because women do focus on solutions and collaboration. That's maybe how we can change politics. But yeah, over to you, Stefan.
Thanks so much, Marike. Anybody else would like to comment on that? I think we should now soon close or come to the conclusion of this session, as we're now quite run out of time. But I think this has been a very inspiring session again. So maybe each of you a final kind of word. I start with Taryn again, the order in which we had the presentations. Taryn, your final thoughts about how we can mobilize the whole society by strengthening the role of women in community energy and climate change?
Yeah, I really liked a lot of the comments from this session and the session before, because I did get to see the session before. And, you know, I think valuing women's role and their voice and hearing their voice is always, you know, really, really key. And I liked, was it Dorte talking about, you know, seeing women as the translators you know, particularly in the community energy space, between the sort of more technical and the more social and the kind of environmental good. I think they play a, you know, broadly, we play a good role in that. I think it's very exciting what's happening with the young movement. So yeah, thank you, Janine, for your in the background work with that. It's yeah, we need the young people to feel hope as well. That's all I've got. It is very late in Australia, so I will say good night to everyone now. Thank you for having me.
Anyway, thanks so much. I know that it's for you, it's quite late indeed. Thanks for staying with us so late. Janine, your kind of conclusion summary of what you heard.
Yeah, I think we need to research this more. My mic is on, yeah. Because even in the climate movement, I see young and older women step up, as in at least get out there. They are dominant. Yet the microphone lands, as the lady from Denmark said, in the hands of a man. And often I actually see, not uncommonly, it's actually almost often, I see a middle class, middle-aged male decide who gets a microphone. And it's sort of like, how did that happen? What's he doing there? You know, he's hardly even coming at the right time. You know what I mean? He's hardly, you know, and there's this base assumption that they know better or something. And so the journalist gives the microphone to the male thinking that they know, right? And then he gets to decide. Sometimes it's just random, but sometimes it's actually structural. And I see it in the NGOs. Many NGOs who come in and support a Fridays for Future activity will often be, so they're paid, their time there is paid, and it'll be middle class, middle-aged male who's there deciding over what's going on, because they happen to be, it's, you know, it's obviously from an activist on the floor, on the street, to a person who's actually paid in Greenpeace or in 350, that's obviously a step up. So everybody's looking at them going, oh, I have to be kind to them because I might be able to get a job with them, right? So it's, the whole process is structural in many ways, as well as random. And we need to think about this, and we need to, I work on systems theory. If there's one thing I do actually have common with the electronics, and now it's about looking at the system, and that's why social feedback loops is a systems theory process, and how to make that work so that all genders, or even if we jump over and say that there is no gender, everybody is just individual, and try to, but how to make sure many voices are heard. And it classically, you know, it's not just a global South compared to North issue. It's also what I call small towns relative to big cities who are actually nearer the power. So the actual power structures in our society are quite large, and we need to understand and look at that and work and create. This is where I would agree with the previous talker about quotas. I think we do need quotas because we need to understand how those quotas affect. And this is where Citizens Assembly from XR is a very good, with Sortium, which is automatically using quotas as their base, is a good step.
Thanks so much, Janine. Then I'd like to ask Mareike, your concluding remarks.
I think I've pretty much said it all. I would just say we need to support each other. I like the women supporting women space. I think we need to also share much more amongst each other what works well. If we can get a better understanding, not only of the psychological space, but also of the structural spaces. From our side, from ICLEI side, we are working with local and regional governments, helping them understand that this is an important topic and that they need to embed it in their climate and energy work, being inclusive, ensuring equity. Thank you, Stefan.
Thank you so much. Now, Namira sent me a personal message that she had to leave already, like 10 minutes ago or so. Then I would like to ask Katsumi for the very final remarks of this session?
はい。はい。心理学で幸福優位という考え方があります。
幸福の何？
幸福優位、優位性。幸
福優位性。In psychology, science of psychology, there is a concept, 幸福の何？優位性？幸福優位。成功するから幸せになるんじゃなくて Sorry, I don't know this term. 成功するから幸福になるんではなくて、幸福だから成功するという考え方です。聞こえないんですけど、ズームの方で。ズームの方で、マイク聞こえない？幸福優位性ってわかります？マイクがオンになってないじゃん。なってる。電池が切れた。
幸福優位性って、もう電池がないんですよね、これ。充電が。成功するから、幸福になるんではなくて、幸福だから成功するという言葉があります。
Okay, Stefan, I don't understand what she's saying, but she says there is a concept in psychology, the superiority of the happiness.
なのでね、再生可能エネルギーも
It is not
面白い、はい、面白い事業に
仕上げること、ハピネスな事業に仕上げると成功する。で、成功するところに人が寄ってくるというような成功優位性を持ち込むことが成功の秘訣だと思います。People started to gather to the success case to be happy. That's what she said. それでわかるかな。幸福優位性ってわからないかな。はい。以上です。Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think happiness, that's what we all want and aim at. That's kind of the motivation. Sorry. Would you like to add anything?
何かshe ran out the battery for the mic. So
okay.
She cannot talk any longer. Yeah.
Anyway, I think if happiness, that's what we all want, and we have to see how we have to change, all of us, our societies, the way we do run the world at the moment. If that's kind of the conclusion, at the very final conclusion of this session, I think it's an excellent one. I would like to say a very, very big thank you to all of you, also for staying with us longer than we expected. I think it was an excellent panel here. Thanks a lot to everyone. Makoto, also for your translation interpretation services. Thank you to Taryn, thank you to Janine, thank you Mareike, also Katsumi and Namira, who's already left. To everyone who stays in the audience, let me mention that we will prepare the recordings. It's now already streamed on YouTube, but they will be made available later. So you can, if you want to watch the discussion again, you can do that. I think it will take a day or two on our YouTube channel. Thanks so much. We will now have a break. This morning, of course, was focusing more on the Eastern Hemisphere. In the afternoon, we have 2 more sessions with speakers from also from the Americas. So we start again in now a little bit more than 1 hour. Still enough time to have a break, and I hope to see some of you, hopefully many of you, again in the afternoon. Thanks so much. Have a great day otherwise, and I hope that together we will make that happen, that the world becomes a happier place with a more gender balance between us, male and female. Thank you.